Okay, so welcome everyone to this seminar uh, of the Real Project. Today, Raúl Velasco-Fernández will be presenting his latest research. He's a senior postdoctoral researcher at ICTA, and he has a transdisciplinary background in industrial engineering, sociology, and ecological economics. He explores the complex relationships between energy, materials, and time use to analyze societal metabolism. And today's presentation will be focused more on this time use. He's an expert in multi-asem and is dedicated to developing tools and methods for the democratic governance of post-growth societies, with a focus on inequality and biophysical dimensions across different scales. Currently, his work focuses on studying the biophysical foundations of care and its unequal distribution, drawing on insights from materialist ecofeminism and imperialism studies. And this is what we are gonna listen to today. First, he's gonna present it for like 30 minutes, and then we will have time for questions. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Laura, and thank you all you that you're here online. This is a fresh presentation of the work we are almost done. It's done in collaboration with Canonder, Jason Hickel, and Georgos Kallis. The presentation I will have spanned a little bit the introduction because I think in our context, I think we are not super familiar with the concepts and ideas of feminist economics and care economics. So I will span a little bit the first part. And so later we will see the most of the results and the innovations from our side, that it is this the idea of applying the unequal exchange to the care and introducing the unpaid care work and care work in unequal exchange. So just to contextualize a little bit in our context, existing research on unequal exchange has demonstrated that growth and consumption in the global north relies on a large net appropriation of labor and resources from the global south. These have been extensively and well done by a lot of works from Jason Hickel. We also make another also analysis together with Laura and Mario Gianpietro, making the analysis with China, the EU, and the US, where we saw also this how the material standard of living in the global north is based in more or less the half of the work coming from the south. This has been done, as I already mentioned, also not only for labor, but also for land, material equivalence, energy, and also some stuff on CO2 emissions. But here the idea is that these existing studies only focus on paid labor, that is embodied in the production of traded goods. So they don't capture the care work that goes into the reproducing those workers. No, the care work, whether paid or unpaid, remains invisible to these accounts. Here I thought the work from Silvia Federici was one of the first putting this idea on the discussion. And here in the right, you see the economic iceberg. This is an adaptation from the economic iceberg from Maria Mies. Here I introduced the ecosystem service and natural stock depletion in the floor that she called it. I don't know. I don't remember now. This is put in the natural environment. I try to be a little bit more precise, making the distinction with ecosystem services and natural stock depletion. She also refers to the unpaid care work that is invisible in the economy, the informal work, and the neocolonial net appropriation. No? So basically, the hegemonic models, basically the visible economy and how policy is done currently is based on models that basically account for market economy and the pay work economy and forget all these invisible foundations of the economy. No? I will start a little bit explaining about what means this invisibilized work, of basically this care work. And I will make this connection from ecological economics with feminist economics, trying to make a conceptualization of what is the economy from an ecofeminist perspective, would say. Normally, no, we know that the more no, current models focus on the monetized economy. So from ecological economics, we have put it there, the ecosystem, to enlarge the picture and to put in the discussion the foundation of the economy in the ecosystems. So, for example, using this empty wall and full wall from Herman Daly, when it was in an empty wall where the problem was not the resources, we can say, or the environmental goods that we have, that it was the problem was that we don't have the machinery or the technology to extract resources from the environment. The monetized economy models was running more or less okay and was no problem. But when we moved to a situation of a full wall, what Herman Daly said, is basically that we don't have, we are emptying the environmental goods. We have a scarcity in relation to this. And the problem is that we have over capacity in relation to technology and resource machinery to extract resources. So we are endangering our sustainability due to overexploitation of the environment. So we have to move to another type of modeling, no? Another type of understanding what is the economy. We have to enlarge the boundary to include the ecosystems. Otherwise, we are having the sustainability problem. So we can say that the caring for the environment is systematically disincentivized in the current model since it slows down the growth and the capital accumulation in the short term. In a similar way, caring for people is also systematically disincentivized. No? Here I put it this work from Nancy Fowler, The Invisible Herd. She made this metaphor to talk about all the unpaid care work that is invisibilized, no? And is making following the metaphor from the invisible hand. That here she told the invisible herd that is moving all this unpaid care work. So she talked about the care penalty, no? If you are taking responsibility with the care of people, then basically you are having a care penalty. While basically what she's saying is these socioeconomic disadvantages that those who engage in care work have it. No, you have lower wages, you have weaker social protection, limited career opportunities, higher income insecurities, lower chances to be hired, less social recognition, higher prevalence of part-time work, precariousness limiting career advancement, and also less pension accumulation. No? So this is disincentivizing to realize care in our capitalist societies. So inspired by this, our framing of ecological economics and this perspective from feminist economists, I saw it, okay, maybe what the context is also changing in relation not only to the environment, also in relation to care issues, no? In fact, we are moving to population aging and shrinking. And then we are having less people, less worker. We are moving to this type of demography. We are losing also homemakers, people that is dedicated 100 of his time to not to the paid work sector, but the unpaid work. So if this is, for example, for Spain, we have lost more than 2 million homemakers in the last 20 years. And of course, this is basically women because they are the one that is basically realizing this work. And the increase of men realizing mainly basically homemaking is not increasing the same rate. No, so we can say that the commodification of care and the commodity frontier in relation to time, no, is advancing in the care sphere. So also we are having not only this population aging, the loss of homemaker, but also we are realizing that we have a care deficit. No, every day when I came with a bicycle from Barbera, I come from this banner that is in Badia del Valles, asking for more public residences and extending the day center to care from dependent people. No? So we are moving to this context of labor capital tension, no, to what feminist economists say that life capital tension, no, contradiction. So in this context, the idea is that the economy have to be represented not only in relation to the ecosystem, but also have to be complemented with the unpaid care work. If we want to take into account all the important relevance activities, not only the environment, but also the unpaid care work that is fundamental to support life in our societies. Okay. So this is invisibilized work. Basically, it's all the care work that is basically related to the reproduction of life, but also the domestic work that is supporting and making possible this care work, no? And basically, this is a vast amount of unpaid care work and domestic work that is carried out every day, no? Mainly by women, and it is indispensable to supporting the economy and life at large. Yet, it is systematically ignored by national accounts and economic models, as I have already mentioned. No? Just a quick picture of the numbers that we have been developing. This is, for example, at the global scale, the unpaid care work between 1995 and 2020. Here you have that almost the same amount of unpaid care work. This is in blue. Is done by, and 80% of it is done by realized by women. Is the amount more or less of the amount of paid care work, no? So the unpaid care work have a huge size. And this basically is increasing due to the population growth. And here in the lighter blue, it is the paid care work. No? Normally, will be in paid care work sectors. It included the healthcare system, the social security system, and the educational system. So here you have all these workers. And if you see in hours, when we go to annual hours, this is the relative size, which is quite small. Okay, the data source used to realize these numbers, I will go quite fast for it. It is based on the United Nations SDG indicator, and we have complemented it with several national use surveys, also with the help with another colleague, and the whole population prospect to realize the per capita population issues and the pay care work and the trade data came from the Exio base. This is the embryo table from, well, considering more than 2,000 product sectors and 44 countries plus aggregated regions. So it has been a lot of work to aggregate and to accommodate national surveys to the labor force surveys with the numbers of the United Nations and after to the population data and to the Exio-based database. It has been quite a lot of work. This database basically is covering 909 worldwide countries, 77 from the global south, 29 from the global north, 668 entries per sex, 2.9 entry per country and sex, even though there are countries like, for example, the US have, at least the most, that have around 20 time-use surveys. There are, I don't know, Ecuador in the south, it has 7, 8, but the majority it have 1, 2, or more, maybe 3. But there are a lot of countries that is missing data. So there are, this is also why I think the research on Baker work is have not advanced in the last in the previous decades, but now that it is giving more data and it's more homogenized, it can advance a little bit. Okay, just very fast. There are different typologies of unpaid care work. The direct care work, that is basically the relational care, where this is the care that requires the face-to-face personal engagement. The indirect care work that is less personal engagement, but it's fundamental to make direct care work, like is the meal preparation, cleaning, laundry, and services. And there is another part. This is why I put this here. That this is the supervisory care, no, often provided in conjunction with other forms of unpaid care work, or even the mental care, the mental burden that people that is dedicated and have the exclusivity of care work have 24 hours a day. So this is one of the problems of quantifying care work, that we are missing this part of the supervisory work and the emotional and mental burden that it carries. So this is also one of the limitations that we have, no? Well, in fact, this is why I put it as well. There are already several limitations. Now, there are already mentioned that there are several countries that have only one-time use base. There are a lot that they don't have it. They assume that we have assumed that all workers require the same amount of care work to be maintained and reproduced. There are care deficits, class inequalities, and racialized dimensions of care work that we are not capturing with the numbers I represented. The quality, emotional intensity, and effectiveness of care work are also overlooked. The multitasking and supervisory care work that I already commented, the mental load, and that also that the global north countries have more time user base than those in the global south. So unpaid work in the largest likely could be underreported. With this in mind, this is basically the countries that we have in the global north. As you know, it is not only in the north, it is also based in the classification of the International Monetary Fund of the more developed countries. So here you have Australia, you have Japan, and there are countries in the north that are not in the global north. So just to keep in mind. So when we are looking not only the global numbers that I previously presented, we are looking also the global south and the global north. We are splitting these numbers. So we see that basically the global trends are primarily driven by the global south patterns, since the global north represents a minor share of the total paid and unpaid work, and also even a smaller share of population growth. No? We have a more standard population in the global north, while in the global south, they are still growing it. Just to keep in mind, no, when we are talking about global south, it is much bigger in number of population, and it has another trend. Okay, if we split the global numbers in relation to women and men, we are having this, and then we are dividing by the working in age individuals. So we are taking out the demographic, the population dependency. No, we have not the elderly, not the child. So we are dividing all this working age, all the hours of work, no paid and unpaid, divided by the working age population. So this is like a little bit the work burden over the working age population. Then we have these numbers for women and men. Then one of the ideas also to normalize by working age population is to compare global north with global south, what we will see in the next slides. So here, basically, what we are seeing is that on paid work, women is realizing 2,000 hours per year, no? And while men it's around 550 hours, it is 4 times less. In relation to paid work, also there is a difference. Women is realizing 120 hours, while men is 80 hours. And then in relation to total work, women, when we are taking into account the paid work, women is realizing 3,000 hours per year, while men is realizing 2,400 hours. No, it's around 600 hours per worker per year less. No? If we go to the split by the global gender division of labor between global south and global north, we see that in the global north, it is in the up, we have that the numbers is similar, but it's higher for the women. No? They are working around 1,970 hours versus 500 hours the men, which is more than 1,470 different hours. In the global north, we are having less hours for women and more for men, which basically showing us that the gender gap is being closer in the global north, even though that we know that the women is still realizing much of almost more than twice of the men, and women is supporting the double burden, no? That they are working in the paid work sector, also they are still working in the unpaid work a lot of hours. But the gap, no, the gender gap is a little bit smaller. It's around 980 hours. If we look now the paid work sector, now then we see that there is 90 hours for women and 70 for men. It's around 20. The difference is closer. And in the paid care work sector in the global north, we see two things. No, there are also the gap that is in relation to hours is higher, but also we see that the paid care work sector is higher in the global north. Basically, because we have more extended welfare states, we have more public service servants per capita. No? In relation to care sectors, as I said. In relation to total work, if we add all the paid work hours with the unpaid work hours, we have 300 hours for women, 2,380 hours for men in the global south. And in the global north, then the gaps is a little bit less, even though the burden is more or less. No? If we see also that the implication that men in worker work in the global north, it's making that the men in the global north, even they are realizing less hours in the paid work sector, they are realizing more hours in the unpaid care work. So in total, they have more hours in the global north men than in the global south. We have to note also here that basically men it's a certain care work in relation to the more enjoyable parts of it. No, it's basically taking more implication in the care of child. But for example, we have no real important increases in the when we go to the increases for example the care for elderly or the more or the less socially we can say recognized care work, no? So, but in fact, it's the numbers what it says, no? Okay, if we move now to the unequal exchange of cares, okay, if we come back to this mental model, no, that the economy, we are expanding the logic of what is the economy. Now we are also opening to it, no? We are looking the openness of the system. No, normally in ecological economics, we do it this to analyze the environmental pressure or the externalization of environmental pressure issues. So we are normally used to it, and also we capture it through the trade. No, we know that the trade it's the way that we can reach countries externalize environmental burdens to the global south. However, if we move to the feminist economies, normally they focus on migration. And basically, I don't know if you are familiar with it, but what they call it is in trade, but it's on migration, and they will call it this global care change. And basically, they focus also with internationality, no? Because basically it's involving the more racialized workers. This global care change, basically what is trying to capture is this migration that are feminized and as going from the global south to the global north. So, and basically, it's providing essential care services such as childcare and elder care. Basically, this is the idea of this picture that you have already seen in many countries in the global north, that some racialized women is taking care from the child of the elderly also. While no, this is one of the ways that women have make possible to go to the paid work sector, and of course the men have not come back to home. No, as we have already see the homemaker is going down. And this is one of the way, and the consequences is that in the global south we have the elderly, no, the mom of these women probably is taking care of their child, no. So this is what is generating this global care change and these emotional breakdowns, no, and the impacts on the emotional connections of these families, no. However, if we come back, the idea of this analysis is not to focus on migration. We will do it in the next work. We are focusing on trade, no? As I already mentioned. Okay, then here the research question is, okay, how much care work is embodied in traded goods? And can we quantify the global north net appropriation of care work from the global south through unequal change in international trade? To understand how it operates, I have put here the work from La riqueza invisible del cuidado from María Ángeles Durán, and he told about the cuidatoriado, no? He is talking about this care class that basically sustains the proletariat by reproducing and maintaining it, no? This idea, it is what is behind the logic of how trade is helping us to save care work, no? This cuidatoriado class or caring working class is supporting the paid working class, and this working class is what is producing the goods and services that are traded, no? So the idea here is that the unequal exchange allows the global north to net appropriate paid labor from the global south, and consequently the care work required to maintain and reproduce this paid work. So with this in mind, this is the way that we allocated it. No, this is basically inspired with the energy return on energy investment, but here what we are talking is labor return on care investment. No, how much workforce we have at a output for how much care work is invested on it. No, so basically what we are doing is we allocate all the paid and unpaid care work to all the workforce. It is also considering this workforce is also considering the care workers. So in this way we allocate all this care work to the paid work and then to the traded products. Then we are using the environmental extended multi-regional input outputs. We are basing in the distributing the care work to the labor force in this way, and we estimate these embodied regions, as I already mentioned it. So when we do make the numbers, we are having these results. This is for unpaid care work in relation to embodied trade. This is we see in pink. We have the women exports, and here is men. This is from the south perspective, no? So this is exporting to the north, and this is importing from the north. Sorry, yes, exported to the north and to the north. This is in relation to paid care labor embodied in trade. So more here we see the proportion of women men is less. And here is the other paid labor embodied in trade. It's basically all the paid labor less the paid care sectors, as I already mentioned before. So here we see that it's less feminized, that is more men dominated. This is the split, and what is important thing here is that we see the order of magnitude of the unpaid care labor embodied in trade. It's around the order of magnitude of the other paid labor. It's around 600 billion hours, but here it's more or less. And when we add it all together, we are having one of the important results of this research, that is we are doubling the hours of the total hours embodied in trade. No? Here we are having around more than 1,250 billion hours. The trend has been increasing until 2015, and after it has been decreasing, basically due to the role of China in the global trade change, is affecting this trend. And so in this way, it's also the crisis in the global north that basically affected to the trade and this consumption. This is why it is going down. The non-net representation of labor, if we make the differences in the export and import, it results that the net appropriation of third embodied care labor, it's around 600 billion hours, mainly done by women and in the form of unpaid care work. So it's not socially protected by all the conditions that paid work. And here in the left, we have all the paid and unpaid. So here we have the relative size of the men and women care work and the non-paid and paid load. Okay. So here again, no, the order of magnitude is doubling because all the unpaid care work was not considered before. I'm ready. Okay. Then in relation to the northern net consumption in embodied labor, here we are looking the northern consumption of embodied unpaid care labor. As we see, this is the total consumption, and this is the northern consumption, sorry, and this is the proportion of coming from the unpaid care labor from the south. It's around 35-40%. If we look the consumption of embodied paid care labor, it is less higher because basically, as I already mentioned, in fact, the global north have much higher paid care labor per capita. So here the proportion is less important because this distinction. In fact, the global south have a care deficit. This is also one interesting thing that is it's modulating the unequal change. And here you have the northern consumption of embodied other paid labor. So basically, it's around also 36-45%, and the trend is following the one that I mentioned before. When we add all this, we have that the northern consumption of all embodied labor, it's supporting the around 34-40% of the final consumption is based on this northern net appropriation from the global south. Okay, then here I presented quite quickly the thought experiment. Well, we are thinking of making another one, but I just decided to present this because I think it is more the other one if we are discussing to introduce it or not. It basically is that the vital weight of the cost of embodied care consumption in the north. So here, what we are doing is the substitution method. No, if we have to put the wage cost of this unpaid care labor, and we take into account the unequal change of the care labor. So here we are looking the wage value of the embodied care consumed in the north. So in more intensive green, you have the north-end unpaid care work. So here you have the order of magnitude. It's around 10, 15 trillion euros equivalents. And in the more lighter green, you have the net imported southern care. No? It is around 12 trillion euros equivalent in constant 2035. No, basically here to have an idea, of the order of magnitude, the global GDP was 70 trillion millions. 70 trillion euros in 2020, and here we are talking about 35, which is more or less the half. No, so it's a lot of what we are having there. It is not necessary to quantify it in prices, but well, it is a thought experiment. We realize it. And just the conclusions. Okay, globally, women work on average 420 hours more per year than men and perform 4 times more unpaid care work. Included unpaid care work in the Unequal exchange studies revealed that Northern net labor appropriate in 2,000 billion hours higher than previous estimates, and that is primarily done by women. Northern net appropriation of labor enables global North to consume around 40% more than it can produce with its local workforce. Unequal exchange can occur at the observed magnitude due to the global North is about 6 times also the population of global North. I didn't mention this. This is a graphic, the figure that we are discussing to put it there, but this is also important to mention, the relative size. And also the wage labor of care embodied in North consumption amounts around 35 trillion in 2020, 12 trillion of which was net appropriated from the global South, amounting nearly 50% of the global GDP that year. I don't know if I have been so fast, especially commenting all these numbers, but I think it's more or less the time we have. And then we can go back and discuss the point that you want in the discussion. So thank you for your attention.
So great. Yeah, it was 30 minutes. So let's start with the questions. If anyone has a question, you can use the raising hand tool here on Zoom or write on the chat. Otherwise, I have a question. I have questions. I can use my question to start.
I didn't stop. Sure, thank you. Oops. No. I'm sharing the screen?
Yeah, you're showing some Excel files. Yeah.
How can I stop?
Yeah, now it's okay.
It's
The other
okay
one?
now? Okay. So I'm not used to use the Zoom for some time.
Can I ask a question? Raul, do you hear me?
Hi, Jerome.
Hey, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, this was interesting information. I like that. I never saw this kind of statistics. It's very interesting. So what I immediately noticed is that if you compare the global North and the global South, the numbers are not that different. And you looked probably also in a lot of data for countries. I don't know. So first question would be, how are the data or the indicators for countries? Are they very diverse or also quite similar? And if they are similar, what does that say about the stability of these phenomena? Can we change that easily? If we don't have any example, how do you see that? See my point? You would have, for instance, countries that were very different.
In relation to what?
The reasons
in relation
why.
to unpaid care work, you mean? Or what?
No, especially the fact that, okay, I wasn't clear. Especially the fact that women spend much more time on care work than men. And that proportion is quite similar for the global North and for the global South. Whereas you would expect maybe that in the global North it would be very different, you know? So is it true that it's quite constant also for all the countries, or do you see diversity for countries? You have looked into that, I suppose. And what can we learn from that? If it is the same in all the countries, is this almost a law of nature that is very difficult to tackle and to change? What is, because we want to change it, I think, but what can we learn from the data?
Laura, should I ask or answer, sorry, or we gather the questions?
No, let's
Let's go? Okay.
answer. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Jeroen, for your question. I mean, when you aggregate all these numbers, yeah, we are losing granularity. But what I can say is that in the global south there are also a lot of heterogeneity, but you can see a lot of differences. Basically, that in the global south you have around 25, more than 20 always, percentage of the time use in women, they are dedicated to unpaid care work, while men, you can arrive to realize that it's just 3%. For example, in Iran, I remember this was really, really low, no? And 3, 5, 6%. No, this is something really different. And in the global north, you can find countries that have around, I don't know, the most convergence you can have in the Europe, in the north of Europe. I think there was Denmark. They have around 19% for women, and the men are implied at around 14% of their time in unpaid work. No? So it's
Okay.
more closer the gap. But
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we are working in the paper on it, but I couldn't manage to put it there because it was too much things already in the presentation, is that we have to one thing is the care burden, that is how much hours per capita or per worker, no? This is what I presented per working age population, no? Per working age individual. But after, you have to also, if you want to see how much how this care is distributed, you have to look in the care requirements. You have to estimate what is the care need of this population. So this is done by the Scala Duran, but basically it's taking into account the population structure. So one of the great differences that we realized is that in the global north, you have less dependent population than in the global south. In the global south, you have almost more or less the double. So if you are having more or less the same amount of hours of care work, what is showing is that you have a large care deficit. This is the care recipients is receiving much less hours of care by that in the global south than in the global north. And another key issue to explore here is that in the global north, you have more hours in the paid sector, so they are more professionalized carers, and also they are dedicated more to the people that is requiring this care. And in the global south, you have more domestic care workers. So these domestic care workers are basically work not how to say, they are doing whatever care that is required by the people that is paying for them, and they are basically domestic workers, and they are not not only they are not professionalized in care in relation to, I don't know, in education or care specific tasks, but also they are just providing care to these families. So even though you have a lot of carers there in the paid sector, they are just providing care to the rich people. So they are also, this is one of the ways that you see that there are big differences in the global north, global south, that the welfare state is providing with less hours to more satisfaction of care needs, that in the global south that is more inequality that distributed this care work with relation to the care recipients. I don't know if I explained properly this.
Now, what you're saying, although at the aggregate level, global north and south have similarities, below that there's a lot of differences in the diversity. But it
Yeah.
still raises the question, what can we expect in terms of changes? Where are the good examples? Where the numbers look more prosperous, and how can we get there? What can we learn from that? But maybe it's too big question for this lecture. I understand that.
I think that the changes arrive with the big changes, I would say, in relation to the industrialization and the welfare state, because welfare state is you need, of course, liberate workers to the service and the care economy, but also you have to redistribute them, because you can have really rich countries that you have liberated a lot of time to have care workers. But if you don't have the welfare state, that is the one that is guaranteeing that these care workers is providing care to the one that requires it and not to the one that just can afford it, I think here is the game changer. And this is the traditional discussion between the left and the right. I think it would be the public services or private services. And here I think is this traditional tension that you can see in relation to the care, no? But basically, it's this traditional tension showed from another perspective. And here is what I would say is that we have to, if I have to say from my perspective, if we want to go to a post-growth economy, to an economy that is not looking to the limits, we have to look these limits in relation to environment, but also in relation to the time that we have to care for people and these essentials, how much cost these essentials. I think we have to dig more on it because I think this is a tension of also on here that we have to take into account. I don't know if I answered
Great.
your
No, thanks. That's clarifying. Thanks a lot.
Julio?
Yeah, okay. Hi, everybody. Hi, Raul. How are you? Thank you very much for the lecture. It was really nice. And I have one question, but now that I thought, maybe I could because I kind of didn't fully understood the methodology and how you use input-output tables, but maybe I had a connection problem. If there is time, I would be grateful if you can explain it. But also, following on Giron's comment, I think this aggregation of global south and global north might not be so useful for this case. And I think I don't know, maybe for future research, you can integrate, you can talk or you can check about the welfare state literature. I think Anderson, classic literature, use it different classifications and stuff. Because in this specific case of the welfare state, there is a lot of heterogeneity within global south. I am not an expert, but I know the cases in Latin America, and it's the differences are huge. So yeah, just might be more intuitive to rethink the classification. And yeah, to be honest, I am interested on maybe on the methodology, because I think it could be useful to replicate it or use it for other projects. Yeah. So no, but congratulations otherwise.
I mean, here the idea is to, in the same way that we, from ecological economics, we are trying to show how rich economies are based in the standardization of environmental impacts. And we use it, one of the ways to use it is the input-output tables and the environmental extension, so we can capture it how much resources are externalized through trade. And here the idea is this global non-global south classification basically is following the International Monetary Fund. So you have the more developed countries. So the idea is to show how the more developed countries are externalizing this cost. So here the addition is basically to allocate also something that is outside the market, that is the unpaid care work, to this production of goods and services. So basically, this is the idea, to amplify the perspective and to put this also in the discussion. So in this way, what we see, I have tried to present today, is that there is all this northern growth and consumption is based on not only on the labor from the south, but also this feminized labor that is not only in the south, that is also outside the market. No, so all these resources can be used to. They are extracted from these countries, so they cannot use it to their own development. So I think this is why it is based on these imperialist studies and these neo-colonialist studies, because colonialists in this neocolonial form, sorry, the more advanced form, it was through more complex ways than it was in the past. No, it was through this neocolonial change, through this the way that the global trade agreements are done. So I think this have to be to put in the discussion, otherwise we are missing one part of it. No? So I don't know if I clarified your argument. And after the method, I mean, it have a lot of details. If you want, we can meet one day and I can explain you in more detail. Laura, you want to go? Or Julio, you want to
Yeah.
go?
I have many questions. I also was curious about the methodology, but I'm gonna avoid that discussion. So I don't remember well now about the literature on time use, but I was thinking, seeing the global gender division of labor, the first part of the results that you show the time per working at each person, global south, global north, women and men. So I've heard about these conversions of unpaid work, but what we see is very, very slow increase in men's unpaid work. I don't know if maybe I remember that it was like for specific countries that could be, or because I'm thinking many countries have still this like breadwinner model of household, which would explain these large differences. Only if you can reflect on that, or you have some comment on the like more disaggregated data for different countries.
I mean, I have revised some of the numbers for concrete countries, but here the idea was to aggregate to have this global north, global south perspective. I mean, it has been a lot of work to build the database because basically what the database is contributing is that to complement the United Nations database and also to infer the trends because you have for many countries you have just one year, so it has been a lot of work to I mean, you make just no, you span during all the period. The different times, the different countries have different years, so they have been a lot of work to estimate it, and there are a lot of countries that they have no data, so they have been also work on estimating it. And also the time you survey, they have different years span, so it has been a lot of work to to capture how to say the total human time in care work because there are a lot of estimations in relation to different weights of the time you survey. So here the comparability and the work have been focused on it. Okay, coming back to your question in relation to the concrete trends and so on, it really changed. Really, my experience is that it really changed, and they have a lot of focus on the different realities. But in our context, we can some way extrapolate to the global non-global south discussion is that we are having less and less domestic care work because it's what we don't like, we can say. So we are externalizing to, I don't know, we buy food outside, no, prepare it, we buy it for Globo. So we are less cooking, no. The Mercadona boss, they say that in the future apartments we don't have kitchen, no. So I mean, some of the trends is this, no. There's less domestic work or being externalized from the domestic work, and there are more what it could be considered desirable care work, that is spending more and more time with the child and this kind of thing. And also here it's a key. This is also why I mentioned maybe I was really fast. Men is introducing in the care work from here, the more desirable and socially recognized. No, there are if you see the statistics, men is increasing in care work for a child, and also the socially recognized other activity in care relation, that is the cooking. No, if you cook for others, then they like it, and then you have some social recognition. But it is less intensive in the I don't know cleaning the bathroom that have no social recognition and have nothing really enjoyable. And also the what is called the not planified and not choiced care. That is, for example, you have your mom became get dementia. So this is not something that you choose or to plan like you having a child. So this is something that care requirement that come to you. And here the inequalities is still really high. Even though, depending on the context, here in Spain we have a very advanced law in the dependency law, but have no resources. Now you are having this also the institutions of care. So the state is giving money if someone wants to take care of their elderly, for example, at home, and the hybrid model that there are development of public institutions to support this care. But this really depends on the countries, I would say. I would say that in some countries in the global north, it's happening this, but I don't think that is the case of the United States, for example, where there is, I mean, this is something that is privatized, not in the educational system, as far as I know, but in relation to care, as far as I know, you don't have a care permit or this kind of thing, no? Living, they are not the company is not paying to you if you have a child, for example, no. So it's something that is happening in the social care security you are having in the global north. So if there are more questions, maybe we can come back to this later on. Pero also, Giacomo, if you want to go on. Laura, sorry.
Technically, it was Giacomo who first raised his hand, but
Thank you, Raul, for the presentation. Now, just a curiosity out of the specific example that you are giving to the answer, because at the beginning you create all these complex representation in which also activity related to not only to other humans but to our environment. Theoretically are part of your analysis. But then when you give the example, always you ended up speaking about care, let's say, in the world of households. So I was wondering if finally the kind of definition that you use to aggregate the number of the survey are considering activity outside the household or caring also for the environment in which sense? And if this difference is important, thinking of different contexts that you have analyzed. Now, because we can think of many activities that are unpaid and are related to the sufficiency economy in many geographies of the world that are more relevant than in other countries in which the industrialization, the marketization, commodification is pretty spread all around, right? The services and activities that we do. So this is the question. First, how what are the variables that you consider as an activity of care? If these consider also caring for the environment, like working in agriculture sector, but informally, and if these give some variation across the geographies.
Thank you, Giacomo. I think this is a really interesting question, but this work have been built on the last advances in the international statistics, because this is really new. So it has built at the end in the last ILO standard definition of work that they was introducing the unpaid work like work, they were recognized it, even though it have limits, for example, because it have relevance what you are saying. For example, if you are going for to gather water or to take care of the houses, this is not considered unpaid work, even though I would include it, no? So this is put because what they say is that this how to say it to capture it, to gather timber or to gather water and so on and so forth. They consider that this is a productive activity that is done in the houses, that they say that this is already included in the GDP, like a productive activity. So if you go to these big statistics, they have a lot of limitation in relation to what is considered at the, no, if we go to this development context, especially, no, it is thought like in the global north, I would say urban society, no. So this is built on it. So the number that I have presented today is built on it. So these have these limits, these limitations. So what is caring for the environment is not considered, because basically what this is considered like unpaid care work is the direct care. So it's relational care work to others, the care babies, caring for child, caring for elderly, caring for someone that is it's ill at home and so on. The domestic work that is also defined like this: producing food, cooking, making the laundries, cleaning the house, going for buying food. So this transport is also included there, but not the transport to labor, to work, and so on, of course. But no more. There is also I mean, there is the advances in the classification they have made this distinction, no? So then the statistic is building on it, and the time use survey that I have used it to build to connect with these United Nations women, I have followed with the same logic. Otherwise, it lose comparability. So, but
but it means that the number that you are showing are, at least in some geography, will be very different. Because if you think of the societal overhead between paid and unpaid work, it's huge if you shift this gathering of water or fire or woods for firing and so on and so forth. In some contexts, will increase very much the number of unpaid work, and so lower the societal overhead. And this will imply a very different number, no? Anyway.
I think I already mentioned in the limitation that the global south is having less time use surveys, but also it's having the definition. I didn't put it this, but you are right. It's a good point. That the definition of uncared work is also decreasing the what we can consider the care work in relation to people and environment. Yeah, you are right. And in relation to the paid care work, it's basically it's also come from the literature. The also have been some debates in the last decade, but in the last decade have been quite a lot of convergence to consider the healthcare pay work, the education and the social services and the domestic workers, these four sectors, like the paid care sector of the economy. So in relation to unpaid care work, I already talked it, and this is all in the pay work this is the sectors that are considered.
I think that the point could also change the ratio between women and men in a geography of where sufficiency economy is more important, because perhaps some of the reproductive activity related to agriculture are not so unequally distributed between men and women, no? And so it could even change the ratio inside what you call the southern countries between between gender.
Yeah.
So there are no more questions, and we are almost there. Maybe if anyone has a very short question. Okay.
Pero
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
no, we cannot hear you.
How's this? How's now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Very good. Sorry about that. Thank you so much for this work, and thank you for taking the time to present it, Raul. It's very exciting. I wanted to ask what the geographical kind of concentration and distribution is of sending countries for migrant labor, and what are the kind of implications of this for countries in the global south that are being drained in order to kind of contest the drain that is happening from countries in the north. So for example, in Southeast Asia, one of the things the island in migration studies was the Philippines is like the Philippines and Indonesia are major sending countries upon which major global care chains are almost entirely reliant. The Philippine state is heavily involved in promoting labor migration and so on, and it has multiple layers of consequences. What does this study show about kind of options that geographies and countries in the South might have to try and bring back or try and reduce the amount that is drained from them by these global care chains? Are there any implications, or are there any strategies, or are there any because I think one thing about the geographical grouping of saying it is countries in the south that are generally sending it to the north that are generally being drained by the north. I think that is, of course, accurate in the way that you describe, but it sounds to me like it's also very concentrated in particular pockets of the south where a huge amount of the sending labor comes from. And I'm just curious what the data turned out about, how concentrated these flows are and what these countries could therefore do to try and reappropriate some of that or try and prevent some of that drain. But otherwise, thank you so much for this work. Get it.
Thank you, Feroz. I mean, I was not clear in the explanation, but we are not considering here the care embedded in migrants. This is something that we will work on in the future. So I have no idea on it, but what I can say from some of the preliminary analysis that I was doing before focusing on this paper on trade, is that basically all migration, not all, but mainly the main immigration is done in migrants have in the migrate in the working age. So in this way, temporarily they are draining from. I mean, they are a care drain from the place that they migrate. They are being migrants, no? Because basically the country that is receiving these migrants in a working age situation, they are saving the reproduction of these workers. So this is a advantage that is having in fact in many places. No, this is not only in relation to countries. We have also I don't know, in agriculture, wherever you have seasonal workers, you have this. No, you have the worker that comes for the time that is productive, and then you come back and I don't want to take care of you. So whatever place you have as the seasonal worker, also in that you are having this cost shifting of care, no, because you are not sustaining in this is again disconnect with the welfare state and the distribution. If you have a welfare state, of course they are a distribution in the way through the state. But if you are not having this is why in some way you are having always migrants from poorer countries, because you have a gradient in relation to the cost of maintaining and reproducing this worker. No, you have in Spain you have workers in agriculture from the Morocco, but in France you have from Spain. So this is why this gradient is operating in different borders, because you are having this carrying cost relatively lower in relation to the other countries. No? So in this way, I would say that we can explore in the future from where are the pockets. No? In fact, the main literature that I have revised in relation to global care change is based on ethnographics. And there are some debate about it, and ethnographics, and also the emotional implication of this global care change, but not in I have not found the economic implications of it. Not that I am interested to develop it. But also another point is that there is a little debate about it, because in relation to economic terms, because some authors say that the families that are immigrated and having this global care change, they are sending money to their homes, and their childs are having more opportunities than other childs. So there is also here a discussion about this. No, it's like the maquilas. You have a lot of labor costs, but after these workers are the one that in their context, relative context, they are the better labor conditions of having the higher salaries. So these complications are there, I know it, but I have not more to say on it. Sorry.
Thank you, Raul. Yeah, it'll be very exciting to see what you all make of the remittances and imperialism debate as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Hello.
Then, well,
I have a question.
We are well
undercover.
Hello, Raul. Thank you so much. I think you throw out a lot of information very fast, but I think it's very, very interesting research, and I'm looking forward whenever you publish it or you have like some kind of report on it to see the data. I was curious to know like your reflections. You already mentioned it, but then all this topic of the professionalization of care work and the technology behind it, because there are some debates on saying to what extent either the technologies behind care work are like a trap, because this kind of Jevons paradox of to what extent, I don't know, like washing machines reduce a lot the time you spend washing your clothes, but then we use a lot of clothes and we wash them every day, so at the end we spend more and more time. And I was wondering whether is there, or can we learn through comparing different countries, to what extent is there like a saturation point in which there's a minimum care work and we cannot reduce it anymore, or it keeps transforming? Also, in a way, like as a proposal to what extent can we either reduce or redistribute the care work? And another question, very concrete, is to what extent did you find that data on that more local, let's say by cities or by neighborhoods? Is there such a thing of geographies of care work? Can we compare whether there are like neighborhoods that are more care intensive than others in the same city? Or no, thank you.
Thank you, Amalia. You are throwing to me a lot of questions. That I'm, I mean, I have started this research line around 3, 4 years ago. So even though I have read a lot, I don't have all in mind. So I, I have some ideas on the city level and so on, but I mean, at the city level, I found that the framing of the care is another way. What I have read it, it's not this perspective of we can say of externalization of this kind of thing. It's more based on the way the care is distributed, the disinstitutionalization of care. But I don't know. I am not an expert, so it's better that I don't say any more anything more. In relation to this point of the saturation of care, well, I think this is one of the ideas that I want to explore. Let's see if I get some fundings to to advance on it. But yeah, these are really good questions, and this is what I think it will be key question to explore from this ecofeminist perspective of the no of from a post-growth perspective or to this way of looking the economy from a biophysical perspective that take into account not only the environment but also the care issues and we how we deal with these limits from a more biophysical perspective and geographical perspective, we can say, no. So, but yeah, there are good questions, and I think this will be a really interesting research line that I hope to advance on it. Let's see.
Well, then we should close the session. We are on time now. Thank you, Raúl, and thank you, everyone.